How's it going, everybody? Bryan Alvarez here on Wrestling Observer Live. We are here every day, Monday through Friday, noon Pacific, 3 Eastern, Sundays, 3 Pacific, 6 Eastern, Saturdays at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 Eastern with Jim Valley. And we got a lot to get into here today, Friday here on this program. And I will be going solo, at least for half this show, as Mike Sempervive apparently struck some sort of animal with his vehicle. And he's getting a rental car as we speak. So, anyway, he's not going to be here today. But Dave Meltzer will be joining us in the second segment of the show. Talk about the biggest stories in the newest edition of the Wrestling Observer newsletter, including WWE once again, record-breaking revenue for a quarter. And it's only going to go up as a lot of these television deals are escalating. Also, great news for AW business. The Forbidden Door pay-per-view sold out pretty much immediately, and a lot more. But I do want to mention at the beginning of the show here, best wishes to Big E. Provided an update on his recovery from a broken neck. In a tweet on Friday, the former WWE champion shared that his C1 vertebrae apparently is not healing optimally. He is going to spend another 4 to 6 weeks in a neck brace in hopes of avoiding fusion surgery. For those desirous of an update, he says, my C1 apparently is not healing optimally. Spend another 4 to 6 months in a brace. Hopes I can avoid a fusion. But don't you fret. I've got a tremendous support system. And what shall be, shall be. Of course, he broke his neck March 11th when he took an overhead belly-to-belly from Ridge Holland and landed right on top of his head. Fractured his C1 and his C6. But they were not displaced, no spinal cord damage, no ligament damage, so he was very, very lucky. And I hope he will continue to be lucky here and not need to get fusion surgery. So that's the update on Big E. And all the best to him, his family, and his friends. We're going to do a break. When we come back, all of the news, Wrestling Observer Live.
AEW Double or Nothing is going to be taking place later this month, so I decided to bring back my trivia video. That is right, today we got AEW Double or Nothing trivia. Let's go ahead and play. Question number 1. Who did Hangman Adam Page eliminate to win the 21-man Casino Battle Royale at AEW Double or Nothing 2019? A. Joey Janela, B. MJF, C. Orange Cassidy, or D. None of the above?
Is here, Wrestling Observer Live. No Mike Sempervive. But he will be back very soon. Dave Meltzer joining us for the second segment of the show here. And we got a lot of business news to get into. I'm mostly going to talk the business news with Dave, but a couple of notes here. And what is becoming old hat, WWE announced another record-breaking quarter on Thursday. $333 million in revenue in the first 3 months of 2022. Year-over-year increase of 27%. Operating income, $92.4 million for the quarter, increase of 42%. Stock down over 3% for the day at $55.49, although they weren't the only ones with stocks down. Revenue increase drivers, media rights, $36 million year-over-year, thanks to the February Saudi Arabia Elimination Chamber show. Oh, yes. Live events up $23.1 million from just $500,000 a year ago. Consumer products increased $11 million. They made so much money during the pandemic. And now, as they have opened up everything again, now they're making even more money than they made in the pandemic as a result of different things, live events in particular. You don't run a lot of live events in the pandemic when you're in that Thunderdome. The video game, part of the consumer products increase, in addition to $4.5 million of live event merchandise, offsetting a $2.3 million dip in e-commerce revenue. Yeah, a pandemic ends and people stop buying stuff online, and they go to shows and buy stuff. That's what happened here. They mentioned their supporting press release, multi-year expansion of content for A&E, which will see 130-plus new hours of WWE-themed series and specials. Their MENA region broadcast deal with NBC Group. Long-term e-commerce licensed merchandise deal with Fanatics. Release of WWE 2K22. WrestleMania 38. They claimed, in terms of Peacock, that domestic unique viewership was up 61% year-over-year. Global unique viewership up 54%, making it the most viewed, quote, premium live event in company history. Viewership in India, record 56.1 million views, 29% increase year-over-year. So yeah, things going very, very well as expected for WWE. And their television deals still have some time left, so those deals will only increase. And then it will be time to negotiate a new deal. And provided there is not a global economic collapse or something crazy, they're going to get an even bigger deal the next time around. So long story short, if you're hoping for change, like Raw, for example, don't hold your breath. They're going to keep doing what they're doing, creating content, whether it's good or bad. People are paying for content. And so there you go. We also had AEW business news. The remaining 3,000 tickets for June's AEW versus New Japan Forbidden Door pay-per-view sold out in minutes Friday as part of the public on-sale, ensuring the event at Chicago's United Center will be sold out. As follows Thursday's pre-sale. They sold 11,000 tickets in 40 minutes on Thursday, meaning on Sunday, June 26th, the event will have over 14,000 fans in attendance. Final number will depend on how many production hold tickets will be released. First co-promoted AEW New Japan event. So for those of you concerned that nobody knows anything about New Japan, they're not going to want to go to this show. Well, they do. So this is the second time they've done huge numbers without any matches. Well, actually, the Punk announcement, they didn't announce Punk was going to be there, but I think everybody knew. And so they sold 12,000 tickets in their first pre-sale. And that ended up being 15,316 for the night. And this one probably will be doing somewhere in that neighborhood. Although as a big event, there might be perhaps more area taken up for production, but I guess we'll see. But that's the update. Sold out very, very quickly. Same thing with the Double or Nothing show coming up at the end of this month. That thing sold out very, very quickly. So fans are interested in the AEW big shows. AEW prepared to introduce Trios titles. We talked about this in the new edition of the Wrestling Observer newsletter, which, of course, you can read in its entirety at WrestlingObserver.com, as well as all of the back issues. Dave wrote that Trios title belts have been made. So now it is just a matter of when they pull the trigger. Tony Khan was asked about making Trios titles, gave the indication a few months ago that it was happening, but they didn't want to do the tournament until Kenny Omega was back. And Tony Khan, in a media call, this was actually months ago, noted that he will be more interested in Trios division when Kenny is back. He said, "We have a lot of great trios here, that's for sure. I'm very interested in it. I will be 100% honest with you. This is the most blunt answer I could give. I am much more receptive to doing it when Kenny Omega is back." Now, I don't know when Kenny Omega is going to come back, so I presume that he's going to continue to wait. But it's interesting when you watch the show and you watch certain things that they did. For example, they were really strongly teasing split between the Young Bucks and Adam Cole and Red Dragon. And then suddenly one week they just did a segment where Adam Cole said, "Listen, we've all been losing, but we are strong as a unit, and we need to go prove that." And so then they did that 10-man tag, and they just slaughtered their opponents. And then they gave the shirts to the Young Bucks. And there's been zero teases of dissension in the last couple of weeks. So I could be reading too much into this, but when I saw that would appear to be a change, my presumption was they were expecting Kenny Omega back, and now maybe they're not expecting him back so soon. And that's why they're slowing down the split between the Bucks, Red Dragon, and Adam Cole. I don't know that. I have not been told that by anybody. I just watched the television, and that's the conclusion that I came up with. But for all I know, Kenny Omega could end up being the Joker. I don't think he's going to be the Joker in the Owen Hart tournament, but I suppose he could be. Canadian. So that's the update on the six-man titles. Also in the New Observer this week, remember I was talking about that WWE business and how, business is great. They're making money hand over fist. The Saudis are paying them, $40 million a show or whatever. They're making all this money off television. So, if you want the quality of the product to change, don't hold your breath. Well, you guys remember when they were teasing the Usos against RK Bro in a unification match? And for weeks on television, they teased a unification match. And then they went to do the contract signing, and the big brawl broke out, and Drew McIntyre ran in, and Roman Reigns ran in. Which, by the way, begs the question, did they ever sign that contract? Because if they signed the contract before the brawl, we should still be getting a unification match and storyline, but maybe they didn't. But the point of this is, they changed it to a six-man. And like an idiot, because I never learn, I thought, they teased that damn match for weeks. So maybe tonight on SmackDown, they're going to announce that all of the belts are on the line. And, unify the belts, whichever team wins. If Drew's team wins, Drew becomes champion. And if Roman's team wins, the Usos unify those belts and Roman retains his title. And as it turns out, this is not plans change. This is apparently planned from day one. From day one, the plan was, we're going to tease a unification match for weeks, but we're not going to deliver. We are going to change it to a six-man. So all of those storylines, all of that build, it was all, you can't even have more of a bait and switch than that. They had no intentions of doing the unification match. Now, I guess maybe, plans do change sometimes, so I guess they could announce tonight that all the belts are on the line, but not looking like that's going to be the case. Back in a moment, Observer Live.
Question number one, what is your favorite movie of all time?
One of the Avenger movies. Not the last one that came out, but the second to last one.
Question number two, a least favorite workout.
Back workout.
Question number three, what's on your gym playlist?
Gym playlist. I love music, so I have all different genres from rock to R&B to rap. Okay, I'm going to sound like a big mark right now, but one song that has to be on my gym playlist is Edge.
Back in the show, Bryan Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Alive. Dave Meltzer joining us here today. New edition of the Wrestling Observer newsletter available right now at WrestlingObserver.com. And there's a lot of news in the issue this week. And we started this show here today, Dave, talking about the basics of WWE's quarterly report. And you've got all of the in-depth news on this. So what's the big story here?
There really wasn't a big story.
Aside from making a lot of money.
They made a lot of money. A couple categories are up, a couple categories are down. A lot more people are watching the pay-per-view shows because they're on Peacock and because Peacock has expanded its audience. So, they made a big deal about how the Elimination Chamber show was bigger than the prior Saudi show, but between the growth of Peacock, which was primarily due to the Olympics, and also the fact it was on a Saturday rather than a Thursday, that kind of explains it. You know, Thursday afternoon isn't going to be a giant number compared to a Saturday afternoon. But, the Mania numbers they said it was the largest audience ever to watch a WWE show, but, it's probably the largest ever to watch a pay-per-view show. In fact, it was, but I mean, it paled in comparison to like like Austin and Undertaker.
8 million viewers for a Raw.
Yeah, or Hulk Hogan and wasn't Andre the Giant? Yeah, it was Hulk Hogan and Andre
Saturday
the
night's
Giant.
main event. Yeah, 33 million
in 1988. Yeah. I mean, it's probably 1/10 of that, but they claimed it was the biggest ever. And just a bunch of stuff, but there was no real big news. Nick Khan was very bullish about Amazon and Netflix and Apple and people like that getting into the wrestling business and more people bidding. And that's probably going to happen, and WWE's in great position because they are they're not the NFL, but they are they're somebody that can move numbers. They have a big fan base and can help a streaming service. And so there's going to be a lot of people interested in WWE when their rights fees come up, and I'm sure that they will get a big increase, and they'll make even more money than they're making now.
So we also had the story in the Observer about the main event of the pay-per-view this weekend and how it was always planned to be a 6-man.
Yes.
So
there was never. That was always the plan. This was the way they got into the plan. I have no idea. If you're asking me why, I have no clue. But that's the deal.
Well, I can understand if all the belts were going to be on the line and you're still going to deliver what you advertised, which was a unification match. But I mean, I guess we'll find out tonight. But not looking like it's going to be any sort of unification match.
Oh no! There's definitely not a tag team title unification match on this weekend. No.
Why would you do this?
It's weird because Vince has a rule of not, like, it's not necessarily he doesn't have a rule against false advertising. He does that all the time. But he does have a rule as far as building up something that he eventually will not deliver. And there is no plan for a unification, or at least there was as of a couple days ago. That could always change, although it makes no sense to do it. So I think that there's a good chance there won't be. So as far as like why he did it this way, I have no idea, honestly. I think that it's probably something they thought would draw ratings, but they, it doesn't look like they want one set of tag team champions.
I don't see any problem with having one set of tag team champions because if you've been watching the show lately, like Randy Orton and Riddle are on both shows anyway. So what would be the difference?
But they don't want to keep that. They don't want to keep that going for a long time.
Having the stars on both shows.
Well, both networks kind of want unique unique rosters. I mean, you can do some of that back and forth, but really, Fox in particular really wants kind of exclusivity on its guys.
All right, I don't know. I understand wanting like kind of an exclusive roster, but like. All I ever hear about is complaints about, oh, we were promised this person, and then this person went over there in the draft, and then, we thought we were going to get this person. Like, if you remember when they first went to Fox, they had a graphic of a bunch of superstars for when they were advertising the move to Fox.
Yeah, Charlotte.
And it was like Charlotte, and then they did the draft, and none of them went there. And I remember there was like, well, how come we didn't get this person? Now, you could get everybody if we just combine these rosters.
Yeah, well, now all those people, Brock Lesnar and Ronda Rousey and Charlotte Flair, they're all there now, finally, and Roman Reigns.
So I know that I got a text from Filthy Tom today, and he was commenting on his, I think he gave it 4.5 stars, him and Moxley.
That match was great.
Yeah, this guy's like, there's no way it was more than 4.
Oh, no, that's
how he is. This was a great match, wasn't it?
That match was great.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the best Tom match I've ever seen in my life.
It was the best Tom match I've ever seen. But I haven't seen like a million Tom matches, but I've seen dozens, and it was by far the best. I really liked the match structure. I mean, that was the thing that I liked more than anything, is just kind of like the timing of what they did and when they did it. And it had a real, especially by the end, it had a real nice fight feel. And, it's like for an independent match, or for any match for that matter. It was really intense. I really, it's like I'm not a big fan of bloodbath matches. And the thing is that match, if you took away all the blood, it still would have been exactly as good. I mean, it was just a really well put together match. And Moxley's really good at he's fantastic at his style. And Tom's a real good opponent for him because of the credibility issue and things like that.
They're perfect opponents.
Yeah. Like when I saw that match, and it was like midway through the match. It wasn't even at the end. Midway through the match, it was just like. And Tom, the other thing with Tom is he's there's certain things, mannerisms that he does when he comes to the ring and during a match. Not moves. Like as for like not moves wrestling, he's like really good, and it's like it's sort of like something that is unique to me, that showmanship aspect that so many of the younger guys don't have. And like I was watching going like, he really needs to be like an AEW because they don't have anyone like him. It's not like he's better than everyone there or anything like that, but they have no one like him. And it's like I just really like his idea, not his ideas, but just what things that he does. It really impressed me.
Yeah, I watched his entrance and I was like, my God, this guy is a superstar. I mean, he was so great during his entrance. And of course, Moxley comes out and the place just goes absolutely nuts.
Yeah. His entrance. Moxley's got a fantastic aura around him, especially on an independent show because, a lot of the top guys will go to an independent show and they'll work like they would work on television. And independent wrestling is very different from television wrestling. And Moxley totally gets the difference.
Yeah, I remember there was another Defy show, and I remember the Briscoes were there. And my God, they worked their asses off on this Defy show. I remember watching this match, and I'm thinking, like, do they think it's Final Battle or something like that? Because they worked so hard. And, man, Moxley went out there, and this guy didn't half-ass it, ever. I mean, dude, he went out there and just was, he was on fire.
And, I mean, that's the thing. It's like a guy at his pay level working an independent show could just basically make an appearance. You know what I mean? An appearance, do his moves that people want to see, and everybody want to be happy. But he went way above and beyond, So, that match was that was a tremendous match. Yeah.
So AEW New Japan Forbidden Door is it's all sold out.
It's all sold out immediately. All the people who thought that this concept wasn't viable, at least as a live show, we know it is. I mean, pay-per-view will be the pay-per-view, but the ticket demand was the highest for any AEW show since All Out 2019, and the highest actually of any show in the United States in a long, long time. Which will get people mad, but it's just the truth. There's nobody else that had 20,000 people signed up to buy tickets on the pre-sale that was never advertised at all. It wasn't like it was for today when it was advertised. This was the day before. I mean, most people didn't even know about it. Obviously 20,000 people knew about it, and they were. There's no doubt they were very much. They were very lucky in a sense that the secondary market scalpers, number one, made a ton of money on the recent pay-per-view shows, so they knew to buy in. And secondly, there were no other big shows that went on sale that day. So a lot of the high-level scalpers that don't touch wrestling, but just kind of like what tickets are we going to buy today? There were like no big concerts, no big sports events that went on sale that day. So. There were a lot of people. There were a lot of secondary market tickets sold. But the reality is that, those like on the show in Vegas, right, Double or Nothing. So far, the secondary market people have made about 4 times the ticket price, a little under 4 times, about 3.5 times the ticket price that they paid for it. So it's not like. The demand isn't there or, it's just scalpers buying. It's like actually scalpers are buying because the demand is so freaking high for these shows because they're in buildings too small for the ticket demand. That's the reality of it.
Funny thing is, the last time there was a joint show in America with New Japan, it also did a $1 million gate.
Yes.
So
yes,
you would have thought that, people would have learned that, maybe New Japan and AEW doing a joint show is going to do all right.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I was sure as a live show it would do really good. I don't know it was a pay-per-view. I mean, like, it's uncharted water. It'll do well. I mean, I'm sure it will do well, but, will it do like what CM Punk did for his return? I'm guessing no, but maybe it will, and we'll all learn. And then if we do, there'll be more. But yeah, I mean, AEW with
we gotta head to a break. Sorry, Dave, but we'll talk more after the break on this and take your calls. Observer Live.
Theme song. The old one. I know my friends I'm in group chat with are going to listen to this podcast and call me a mark, but it is what it is.
Question number 4. What is your process like on a show day?
Process on a show day is being positive and being friendly and trying not to stress. I'm not one of those guys that has to listen to music and get all riled up, because it's like I want to be as calm as possible. So I'm always the friendly, nice guy, like upbeat, positive. Because when I go out there, I want my mind to be clear.
Question number 5. How do you spend your days off?
Sleep. As soon as I get home from a loop or a show, I literally sleep for 12 to 15 hours.
Question number 6. Who's your favorite person to have been in the ring with?
3. I have 3 guys. So Josh and Eddie, if obviously those, Eddie's one of my best friends. So we always have that chemistry where it's one of those things where we could go in there and call the whole match in the ring because we've wrestled each other for so many times. Josh, because of how awesome he is, and somebody that I could wrestle every day for the rest of my life is Heath.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I could wrestle Heath every day for the rest of my career and wrestle until I'm 60. So those are my top 3.
Good picks. Question number 7. What is your proudest career moment?
Being Impact World Champion at Bound for Glory.
And question number 8. Do you remember the last thing you Googled?
Where the closest gym is to me in Cincinnati. I did that last night.
Question number 9. If you could become an expert in anything overnight, what would it be?
Maybe finances, to see what else I could put my money in to make more money.
And last question number 10. What is your best cheat day meal?
I'm a big dessert guy. Usually I dial in my diet like a month to 6 weeks before pay-per-view. And I'll have a cheat meal like once every week, maybe once every 7 to 10 days. And only thing I want to eat on those cheat meals is not even food, it's just sweets. So you're talking about cake, cookies, cheesecake, ice cream. Anything sweet is a best cheat day meal for me.
Back in the show, Bryan Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Live. If you want the new Observer, 40,000 words of news and information on pro wrestling, mixed martial arts, historical stories, analysis. It's like a half a death of WCW every week, Dave writes. Not quite half of the original. 1/3 of the new and expanded edition. But anyway, you can get it at WrestlingObserver.com. Your subscription gets you the new Observers, thousands of back issues, all of our new audio podcasts, including this show, and archives as well. So if you're a wrestling fan and you are not signed up to WrestlingObserver.com, you're missing out, brother. So get up there and sign up right now, WrestlingObserver.com. You won't regret it. And you can read all of the stories in the new Observer, plus all of the breakdowns of everything from all over the world. So check it out. If you want to give us a call here today, the phone line is open. The phone lines, we have 5 lines. because we're big time. 844-913-2727 is the phone number. 844-913-2727. If you want to send me a text, 425-780-7566. That is 425-780-7566. Bryan at WrestlingObserver.com is the email. At Bryan Alvarez on Twitter. And, of course, F4W Online on Cameo. Do you know that you can get a Mother's Day Cameo for just $35? That's right. So don't miss out. F4W Online. $35 heading into Mother's Day. So go over there and grab one now. Dynamite ratings very quickly. The show got killed by the NBA again. 833,000 viewers, down about 10%. Lowest number since May 19, 2021, over a year ago, almost a year ago. 0.32 in 18 to 49, second lowest rating of the year in that category. However, as noted, it was the NBA, and the show was actually fourth on cable at 18 to 49, trailing only the NBA, and the NBA. So, for those of you that were panicking yesterday, don't. For those of you that are going to panic when you get to the Rampage numbers on Monday, don't. Bro, if Rampage even makes 400,000, they should throw a party, because that show is starting in less than 2 hours. Okay? My kid's not even out of school, and Rampage is airing today. 2:30 Pacific, 5:30 Eastern. Not an ideal time. And for those of you that were looking at the quarters, Brendan Thurston had the quarters, and there was a pretty big collapse in the last half hour of the show, which coincides with that last hour that people were pretty critical of. They actually lost not a significant, but a fair amount of viewers for the end of the Dante Martin Ray Phoenix match that the fans were going crazy for. They lost viewers there, and it pretty much stayed at that level for the main event. Ring of Honor was the unification match. I could get both of those, but suffice to say, the show would have done probably what did the show averaged 833. The show would have averaged 850 or 860 if you would have taken out the last half hour of the show. But the last half hour dropped enough to drag the entire show down to 833. So that's basically what happened. First hour and a half of the show was very, very stable at about 860 or so, and then it fell off there at the end. So anyway, let's see who's on the line. I know who's on the line because we have one person that calls from old Bellows Falls. You're on the air, Dagan. What's up?
What's going on, Brian? What's up, Twitch homies? So wanted to continue that discussion you were just having with Dave about the ticket demand for some of these big AEW shows. And it's kind of clear to me that they could start to run some bigger venues for some of these shows. And, you know, I was just at that Boston show a few weeks ago, and there's a small venue. And I'm kind of thinking, like, this idea of potentially thinking outside of the box a bit and maybe running like a Fenway Park in Boston or like a Wrigley Field in Chicago. Wanted to see what you thought about the idea of them starting to run some bigger venues or potentially some venues that you wouldn't expect, like Arthur Ashe Stadium last year. Anyway, thanks for taking my call.
Yeah, I want to thank you very much for the call. I mean, here are the things that are obvious to me, okay? Number one, for the bigger shows, I'm not talking about your average Dynamite, because I'm not sure that Dynamite should be regularly running 12,000-seat buildings. I think that would be a mistake, because I don't think they're selling 12,000 tickets every week for Dynamite. But for the bigger shows, for the pay-per-views, for the New Japan versus AEW, stuff like that, there's two things that are obvious. They need to run bigger buildings, and they need to raise the prices. Now, of course, it's going to be experimental, because the amount of the ticket prices now, it's clear that they would sell significantly more tickets to many of these events. Of course, if you raise the ticket price, maybe they wouldn't sell that many. I don't know. But, as Dave noted, they've got Double or Nothing coming at the end of the month. And scalpers, when they bought those tickets, they're selling those tickets for 4 times what AEW charged. That tells you something. AEW is undercharging for their tickets for live events. Now, am I recommending they go out there and start gouging people? No. But, it's not like WWE tickets are cheap. I know Tony wants to make these tickets accessible and everything like that. But, when you got 20,000 people that are ready for a pre-sale and 12,000 get tickets immediately, bro, there's 8,000 people where those tickets weren't accessible. Doesn't matter what the price was. They couldn't get a ticket. So it's going to be something needs to change, and that is either raising ticket prices, expanding the size of the buildings, or both, and then finding the balance. If you can regularly sell 25,000 tickets to your 4 quarterly pay-per-views and increase prices by 10%, this is a business, and we don't know what the television landscape is going to be when it's time for them to get a renewal. They may end up getting a renewal for the exact same price that they're getting now. And if you look at all the people they're signing and how they want to be competitive and how they don't want to lose people to WWE, you're going to have to be paying your top stars more. Well, where's the money coming from if you're making the same television deal money? Well, you need to sell some tickets. You need to sell more tickets. You need to raise the price of the tickets. You need to make your money in different ways. So I think the easiest way is raise the ticket prices a little. I'm not saying double them necessarily. And for the big shows, clearly run some bigger buildings. So if 20,000 people are in the queue for the pre-sale, 20,000 people get their tickets and not 12. So I think those are the two things that that I think. Obviously there's a lot of things like get more bidders, get a streaming deal, sign. That's all beside the point. But this is something you could do now, and the evidence is there based on what's going on that you could sell more tickets to big shows and raise the prices. If you want to call us, 844-913-2727. Phone lines are open, so jump on if you'd like, everybody. We've also got, what other news have we got here? During a comedy show Thursday night, Malcolm Bivens addressed his release from WWE. He said, there's a lot of rumors, a lot of speculation. Was I offered a contract in February? Yes. Did I say no to this contract? Yes. Was I offered to be with Omos? No. No one said a word to me about managing Omos. Was I told about the main roster? Yes. And people, think I'm crazy, like Malcolm. You threw away millions, potentially. You walked away. Yeah, he says, I did, because I didn't want to do it anymore. And unfortunately, I just wasn't happy. At Stand and Deliver, I had a conversation with the head writer, and I told him so. And then 2 weeks ago, I said the same thing. I don't think this is for me. And that's okay. Your happiness is not dictated by what people say you should do. It is dictated by what you think that you should do. He was a manager, obviously, of the Diamond Mine. And, which is, by the way, it's impossible to say Diamond Mine. I've noticed. It's always Diamond Mind. But anyway, he says, shout out to Brutus, Julius, Ivy. I'm going to miss them. I love them like they were my kids. But sometimes in life, you have to move on. People ask me, or they have been asking me, Malcolm, is this it for you? Is this it as far as pro wrestling goes? And for now, I have to say yes. Will I come back? Maybe. Maybe for the right price. So right now, at this point, Malcolm Bivens is out of pro wrestling. And it sure is amazing how many people go through this system, the main roster system, and they just want out. And then, like, their passion is killed. What this is it's a sports entertainment company. And if you grew up and you love sports entertainment and you want to be a sports entertainer, maybe this is for you. If you grew up a professional wrestling fan and you and your brother listened to this podcast in college or whatever, and you went to indie shows and you worked on the independents and you did professional wrestling, well, this place probably isn't for you. And Roderick Strong has tried to get out, can't get out. Candice LeRae, now a free agent, so she can go anywhere she wants if that's what she ends up wanting to do. So, yeah, I mean, what's happening here, as we've talked about it before, is this business is split. If you're an old school professional wrestling fan, then you are going to gravitate towards AEW and New Japan and et cetera, et cetera. And if you grew up and you love WWE and WWE style and you went to WWE shows and you never watched anything else, well, that's probably going to be the place for you because you probably aren't going to like it anywhere else. So it's going to be very interesting. We've talked about, everyone gets mad at me for talking about NXT, but there's a reason I talk about it. Like, that's the future of WWE. NIL deals. People that didn't grow up wrestling fans. People offered money to go become wrestlers. Anybody can be trained to be a pro wrestler in this system. That's their feeling. So this you watch AEW and you watch NXT and WWE, and they're different products, and they're only diverging further. They're not coming closer together. And what's going to be interesting is, when I was a little kid, I only watched WWE, and I watched Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels. I watched Ric Flair when he was there. And I know people are going, they're both sports. You're right, they are both sports entertainment, but they're totally different. This is diverging, okay? WWE is way more entertainment than pro wrestling, and AEW is way more pro wrestling than entertainment. The booking philosophy is totally different. They're completely different. My point I was making a moment ago was I grew up and I loved WWF. And when I was doing the YWF, it had been all I thought about was, man, WWF Championship. I got smartened up about 1995, 1996, and that was the end of wanting to do anything there or WCW or really anywhere else except the Indies. But the question is, the kids today, what are the kids today, these young kids, where are they going to want to go? Are we going to have kids growing up that just want to go straight to WWE? Or are the kids growing up today wanting nothing to do with WWE and only wanting AEW, New Japan, etc.? And they're out there because I've talked to them. Back in a moment, Observer Live.
Hey there, everyone. It's Denise Salcedo, and I'm back with another commercial break. I had the opportunity to chat with Willow Nightingale, and she played my Q&A game. Here is part one. Question number one. When you're not wrestling, how do you spend your time off?
A lot of the things I spend time doing outside of wrestling involve wrestling or are related to wrestling, but I recently got into bouldering, which is like rock climbing indoors on the walls without like the
I
harnesses
saw
or
one of
whatever.
your videos. Yeah.
Yeah, so I recently got into that, and that's like my big hobby that has nothing to do with wrestling, because everything else pretty much goes back to wrestling in one way or another. So bouldering it is.
What's your skill level like in bouldering? Are you like really good at it? Are you
Not
still
good.
struggling?
No. It's not good. I've really only been doing it for like a month or so. The part that I'm really good at is falling. I've got good mobility, but my grip strength is not there yet. So I have to use like the full easy, like level 1 paths. You see people who are like climbing and they just like put like their finger on like this and they're like holding their whole bodies like this. And I'm like, how? But I'll get there. Again,
Oh
back to my lesson of like, just keep doing it. You'll get there eventually.
Hey, next thing you know, you're going to be out like in the...
Back in the show, Bryan Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Live. And someone had asked me about, got a UFC tomorrow. Charles Oliveira and Justin Gaethje. And no longer a championship match. Oliveira missed weight by a half pound, and his punishment is he has been stripped of the championship. And tomorrow, if Gaethje wins, he will win the championship. And if Oliveira wins, he's still stripped of the title. So laying that hammer down. So if you were, half pound. Half pound. But the thing was, he missed by half pound. They gave him an hour. He still couldn't lose the half pound. And so he flat out missed weight. So that's the end of that. He is no longer the champion and cannot win the title tomorrow in their match. So if you're planning to get the UFC, that's the update on that story there. What do we got here in the text message bin? Oh, must I read about NXT Texas? Poor BJ the Virgin. Whether he gets over or not, this is forever going to be brought up to him in promos by his opponents that he was the nerd that couldn't get laid in NXT 2.0. I hope he... Well, once he gets called up, I'm sure he'll get a new gimmick. If he ever gets called up. Well, someone's very mad at me for getting banned from the chat. Too bad, brother. What do you want me to do about it? If you got banned from the chat, you deserve it. So don't get mad at me. Look in the mirror. That goes for everybody, okay? Yeah, I was in a mood yesterday. So why would you push my buttons? That's it. You know what to do. Don't be an idiot. That's it. There's nothing worse than being an idiot, getting banned, and then saying it's somebody else's fault. That's it. Not putting up with this crap. Jeff Hardy is 44 and Bobby Fish is 46. Yeah, it was rough. That match was rough. Anyway, we're going to wrap it up for today, everybody. Tomorrow, Jim Valley is going to be on the show, 10 Pacific, 1 Eastern, Andrew Zarian on Sunday. And I'll be back on Monday. Also this weekend, tons of shows for subscribers to WrestlingObserver.com. And that's it. Thanks, Mike, as always. Callers and listeners, everybody in the studio. We'll talk to you again next time. Wrestling Observer Live.